Welcome everybody, it's Cyhawk Week here at Mr. B Clothing in Clive, Iowa. Tim Sitzmann joins me today. As you know, Tim, we've done all the picks. The Clones won last week, the Hawks won last week. It's Cyhawk Week, the big game is here. You can just feel it in the air. I did when I walked into Mr. B's this morning.
You know, it's a big week in the state of Iowa, and it should be. This rivalry, I think one of my mentors in the business, Bill Reichart, was kind of responsible for putting this game back on the map.
Really?
Years ago.
How's that? Tell us that
Absolutely.
story.
He kept promoting that they should rekindle that game, which had gone on years before. And he went to the legislature and everything to try to get this Cyhawk game back on track. And I don't think he single-handedly did it, but certainly was out there proposing that this game happen. And I think it's good for our state, and I think the fans out there enjoy it. And win or lose, I think we should all be fans of both parties at the end of this, but that's not always the way it is.
It's not always the way it is.
But we are Iowans, and we should support the athletes that play for these fine institutions, whether it be Drake or UNI or whoever might be in the small colleges. And it's fun for me. This is a fun week.
Well, there's a lot of talk, you know, with the new conferences, the way the television structure, how many conference games each conference is going to have in the future. There's a lot of talk, a lot of proponents out there to get rid of this game again. On the Iowa side, you know, kind of the Hawkeye fan point of view is we don't have anything to gain in this game. We're always the favorite. If we lose, it's a big deal. If we win, we're supposed to. But from an Iowa State perspective, you only have 3 non-conference games, and when you got to go to Kinnick Stadium and you're trying to win 6 games to get to a bowl game in that tough Big 12 conference, a lot of people believe that. I don't agree with that whatsoever. This game has to be played.
You know, I totally agree with you, and I think all those arguments, well, there's nothing to win for the Hawkeyes, and you know, Iowa State's program has certainly over the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years, has seen a great improvement, and with Coach Rhodes up there, I don't see it going any other way but up. So I think this is a rivalry that's really meant to be, and there's going to be favorites one way or another, one season or another, and you know, I think we're going into Kinnick Stadium. I think right now the odds makers have Iowa picked, and I think after watching last week's game, you know, you could throw this up in the air and say it's anybody's game, and maybe Iowa State should be favored at this point. Well, yeah. But you can't compare game to game.
It's hard.
It's really hard, and we try not to do it, but it's just natural to look at the Iowa game and say, well, the way Iowa State played, they should be a favorite. But we don't know the opponent. We don't know what's on the other side of the ball that well.
Boy, if we would have gone game for game last year, you would have picked Iowa to win by about 3 touchdowns in Jack Trice Stadium.
Yep, all the time. You know, and that's just why that home field advantage over the years has been a real decisive favorite for the home team. But it's kind of evened out lately.
It has. It's going to be. I remember I had a conversation with a friend. It was after the Pinstripe Bowl. We went out for some drinks after that game, much needed after that loss. And I said, hey, you know, we were looking ahead to 2012, and I go, I think that Iowa State-Iowa game this about as even. I've been doing this since 2004. This about as even of a game as I remember. Maybe 2005, Iowa State won that game by 20, but the Hawks were still, I think, a 10-point favorite in Jack Trice Stadium. Here you have it where odds makers, Kinnick is a 6-point stadium. As far as Vegas goes, Iowa Open is a 4-point favorite, so that means on a neutral field they like Iowa State in this football game. That means in Jack Trice Stadium the Cyclones are a 7-point favorite. That doesn't happen very often in your life, Tim. I mean, that really doesn't happen.
It certainly hasn't happened under the Hayden Fry era, and then going into Coach Ferentz, it was not much different, even though the Cyclones have had their good share of runs. And this may be
a 5 in a row with McCarney.
And this may be a run that they're on again, and it just remains to be seen. But it's an important game for both teams, as this non-conference schedule, as you spoke of earlier, is shortened. But I also believe that it's a game that there isn't really a favorite. When Iowa says that this doesn't help them, I disagree with that. I think they have just as much to lose and to win as Iowa State at this point. And the attitude that way, I think, is maybe self-developed by a lot of media. We try to make that more of a deal. And I think if you get into Iowa's locker room or Iowa State's, they both want to win and they both want to perform well.
Boy, after that 2007 game, though, when Iowa State hit Brett Culberson kicked the 5 field goals. I'm a firm believer anything happens in this rivalry.
And you know
Iowa didn't look good last week, but that doesn't mean a thing.
No, and it's a turnover. It's a missed play. It's the football game. They're 18 to 20-year-old kids out there trying to do their best, so anything can happen. I went on record as picking the Hawks by 3, I believe.
Yep,
a real close game, and I feel that way yet. And it's a turnover one way or another. I'm going to stick with my pick, obviously, because I've committed. But I really believe that Iowa State has as good an opportunity to win this game as the Hawkeyes.
I like Iowa State by 3.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're a better team, and
I think their depth shows that.
I think it all comes down to poise and Steele Jantz. What he showed last week, 71% completion percentage. I don't think he can do that in Kinnick Stadium, but can you translate the smart decision-making over that he showed on Saturday? If he does that, I think Iowa State wins, but it's a toss-up.
And I totally agree with that. And whatever gets in a kid's mind when they're back there is hard for any of us to control. And sometimes people want to be the hero so bad they make mistakes, and hopefully he contains himself, plays within the game, and I think Steele Jantz can win the ball game, but he can also lose it.
Yeah. All right, Tim. Yeah. Well, what's going to be going on here at Mr. B's?
Mr. B's is an exciting time. We're turning over to fall. You know what? It's going to be a crisp day over there in
it is
Kinnick Stadium in the mid-60s. And
get yourself a sweater.
It's going to be a crisp day here at Mr. B. We have a lot of coats, a lot of winter pants, new sweaters. It's an exciting time. We love the transition into a new season, and all you fanatics out there ought to come in and take a look. I think there's a lot to see.
The back section looks nice.
What do you think of that?
Do some work to the back
remodeled.
section?
We have a little new clothing department, all suits and sport coats. And
wow.
It's really a kind of a man cave, if you will, Chris.
Nice.
And it really looks pretty nice.
We'll have to get a cooler and a big screen back there, and we'll be good to go.
You're welcome anytime.
All right. I'll take you up on that.
All right. We'd love to have you. And at this point, I think it's a good time to wish both teams a good luck, and hopefully there's not a lot of injuries. Both teams can go into their respective season with the Big Ten and the Big 12 and do well.
I think it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah.
So stop on in. Hey, if you're not going to Iowa City over the weekend and you're watching this in Des Moines, pop on in here to Mr. B Clothing in Clive, Iowa, 86th Street. You guys will be open.
We're open 9 to 5 Saturday, so come before the game. It's a 2:30 game, so lots of time to shop. We will have the big screen on, so you can take a look at the game if you happen to come late. But we'd love to have you. We're going to be here to do business, but we'll root on both the teams and see what comes out. I have the Hawks by 3. He's got it by 3. We'll see what happens.
We're even out. We're meeting in the middle.
Might be that three overtime game again. Who knows?
I hope so.
Wouldn't that be exciting?
You know what? I hope so, but I'd need some roll aids if that's the case, because that was a tough one.
That was a fun game, and it was a good Cyclone victory last year.
He's Tim Sitzmann. I'm Chris Williams. Enjoy Cy-Hawk Week, everybody.